I got to talk about some of your acting work. I mean, you've been in, like I said, so many different things. And I just want to run through some. You directed this movie, and I'm curious if there's anything. I'm going to throw out a film, and I'm curious if there's anything you learned from maybe that director or from that set, or even really just a memory that you have from making those films. So the first one I want to just throw out there is The Outsiders, which is going to be re-released this year. It's really a seminal movie. I remember reading the book and then watching your film when I was in middle school. What sort of sticks out for you there? And then I also want to know, like, who did you get along with best on that cast?
That's interesting because I went through your same experience. I read the book, I read it and I experienced it, and I experienced it, and it was in all of its power as a book. The book is really, it just hits home with kids. And I think it's because The Outsiders is a story, and it's young people fending for themselves and finding their way for the first times in their life. And that the people that are reading it are in the same place. And so these characters are very real to them,
And the cast was so stacked. I mean, Tom Cruise, you, Patrick Swayze, Diane Lane.
Yeah, but we were all very young, and I was one of the youngest, believe it or not, of the group. I think maybe there was only one guy younger than me, and but it's interesting. I think everybody got along great when we made the film, but I was closest, I think, with Tommy and with Ralph, because we had a lot of scenes together. We did a lot of stuff together in the film. And, but, everybody seemed that we all got along, it was very, Francis it's a very familial atmosphere working with him. Do a lot of rehearsal, a lot of improvisation, that was one of the great things about working with him. He's really, he's just got such great energy and, the sense that anything could happen. And it was just a great experience, very, very, very validating, as well as just being exciting to work on that book with that director. And then we went right after that and did Rumblefish, which was like right on the heels of that.
And Francis Ford Coppola, like, what a legend. I mean, come on.
Yeah, of course.
So I saw The Outsiders probably around when I was in seventh grade, I think is when we watched it. And I was in seventh grade when another film of yours came out, which was Wild Things. And let me tell you, Matt, like we would sneak that movie. And I don't know if you saw this show, Pen 15. It's about sort of the experience of being in middle school around the year 1999, 2000. And there's a whole episode about these young people sneaking the movie Wild Things and trying to watch this rented or an older brother rents it. Talk to me about that movie. I mean, what a legacy that had, but also, did you know a lot of kids at that time were trying to sneak it from the rental store?
No, I didn't know that at all. That's really why I'm laughing. I can't believe that. That's so funny, I know it was popular in colleges, college age. Look, it was really fun. I mean, it was a really interesting cast, You had a really interesting cast. I mean, people forget Bill Murray was hysterical. He was very funny in that movie. Bill Murray was in it as well. And Kevin Bacon, great actor.
And Denise Richards.
Richards and Nev Campbell.
Were you dating Denise at the time?
No, a thing? I was dating Cameron Diaz at that time.
Okay, Matt Dillon, Cameron Diaz. I mean, I looked through the people that you were rumored to date throughout the years, and you've dated pretty much.
Most of them are rumors.
Pretty much every hot woman in the industry. It's like you've dated every single person. Cameron Diaz, though, like, what sticks out? You brought it up, so I got to ask, what sticks out to you?
No, I was just saying because at that time, as you mentioned,
what a hot '90s couple the two of you were, though. Like, come on.
Yeah, we had a good time. And then we worked together, but we didn't. I think if we had worked together earlier, it would have been tougher. But I think we've been together for a little while. We did Something About Mary.
Okay, so Something About Mary. What sticks out to you about that experience?
That was those Well, the Farrelly brothers, right off the bat, the way in which they worked and the kind of, again, familial atmosphere, but very, and it was it was a lot of fun. I mean, that film was fun. It was fun to make. It was fun to read it. It was fun to watch it. You know, it was just really enjoyable.
When you're looking for a project, you've so brilliantly sort of mixed mainstream stuff with a lot of indie projects. And when you're looking for a comedy or going into a comedy, are you just looking for something that you can have a good time, or what is it that appeals to you about something when you're doing like a mainstream comedy?
Well, my favorite, I mean, if we're going to talk about comedy, my favorite comedies are more of that kind of Hal Ashby variety of comedies. Like, I think they're great when they're grounded in the characters and the human experience, you know. That's when comedy's funny. That's what Woody Allen always, you know, he nailed it with that. You know, he always seemed to hit home with something, you know, making it very, I think comedy, or, you know, yeah, I like doing comedy. I mean, it's not, I mean, there's a lot of different types of comedy, right?
Right.
And one thing I remember hearing, who said it was like, comedy plays best in the wide shots, you know?
Right.
And I think about that with the Farrelly brothers. They understood that. They always did a lot of stuff in big wide shots.
Yeah.
It's physical.
And there are so many different comedies. I love a movie you did called To Die For, which is very much a dark comedy.
Yeah. Buck Henry, the late great Buck Henry wrote that. Gus Van Sant. It was Nicole. It was I mean, it was just going on.
You've gotten to work with so many amazing people. Beautiful Girls. I want to bring that up. That was a movie. There's a scene in that where you're in it with Rosie O'Donnell. You're going through a convenience store. She gives this most amazing monologue that about sort of beauty standards with women. What do you remember about that experience?
Minneapolis, freezing cold. Ted Demme was beautiful soul, great guy, director. He was great, and it was cold. That's what I remember about it. We had fun making it, but it was cold.
Yeah,
I mean, we were shooting at like 30 below zero. But again, you know, I got to work with some good people. This is the first time I worked with Uma, you know. Rosie O'Donnell was in that, right? I mean,
yeah. I love her. She was just on the show last week, and I love her performance in that. And she's great. I know she's acting more now, but I love watching her and stuff.
Well, she was then, right? That's when she started, right? So she's back in the, you know.
There's a movie on your resume. I got to ask, Herbie Fully Loaded. That was sort of a weird time with Lindsay Lohan. Is there something that sticks out in that experience?
No, you know what? I'll tell you. That one was, I was making a film called Factotum where I played Charles Bukowski's alter ego. And I just made this film Crash. And I had just finished the film that I wrote and directed. And, you know, this was like, when they sent it to me, I was like, no, I just passed on it. And they said, well, we're going to make it really funny. I said, well, if you make it really funny, if I laugh, then I'll do it, you know? And they did. And I thought it was funny. And, you know, and that's how I did it. And it was at a time when I needed to do something like that, you know, because I needed to get to work. I'm not going to say I did it for the money, but I got paid. You know, the other things I was doing were like, you know.
Yeah, it's Disney.
Yeah.
Matt, is there one of all of these films you've done? Is there one that you love the most, or one that maybe you'll stop and watch on cable, or do you just kind of block them out after they're done?
Well, you know, the ones that City of Ghosts, this film that I wrote and directed, is very personal to me. So that means a lot to me, that film. Very important to me. It's a favorite. You know, I wrote and directed it, and I think it's a good movie. I really do like it. You know, I believe very much you should never fall in love with a movie if you're making it as a director. But you can when you lock it, because there it is. But as you're making it, you got to be willing to make tough choices and ask difficult questions, make changes that you need to do. But I think that is a personal favorite. And then I like the things where I worked with directors that really were my experiences. That's what I would say. You know, when I made Drugstore Cowboy, for example, with Gus Van Sant, it was a great experience because it was like, oh, this is what it's all about. We're out here, we're living, we're making a movie. This is not a job. And I felt that way with Von Trier. And I felt that way with good filmmakers. I worked with Wes Anderson recently. You know, these are visionary filmmakers. Francis Coppola. I always liked those. And then, of course, Something About Mary was always, I mean, it was one of those things when I read that script right away, I said, I got to do this.
Yeah.
Very funny.
I mean, as a young actor, did you imagine getting to be a part of so many wonderful projects? I mean, you must pinch yourself at times, or maybe it's hard to even take it in.
You know what's nice? Once in a while, you get surprised by something, and that's always really fun. I mean, for example, I mentioned Bukowski earlier, where I played the alter ego of him in this film, Factotum. A really great Norwegian director. It was a small movie, but I never imagined that I would do that. And that's worth everything, when you have those experiences, or even like working with Von Trier. It was a crazy movie. I mean, it's not a subject that I'm particularly interested in, but as dark as it was, the movie itself and the experience of it was very creative and alive. It was a great atmosphere. And that's what I look for. I want to have that kind of experience. And you get that when you work with, talented directors who have a vision or are trying to do something. That's what I want to do. Hey,